Hey folks, this is Julius, Twisted Christian. I want to bring you guys some important information concerning what's going on with the banking system and how I'm going to relate that to what Kim Clement said back in 2005. Right? And there's a lot of things that are going on in the banking system, and it's also connected with gold, but I will follow up with that in my next video in this whole situation dealing with the banking industry. But before we get into all that, I'd like to thank you guys for your support on the Patreon. As you guys already know, I do have a project called the Grigori Animation. If you guys like these videos, go ahead and give us a support over there. That would be really appreciated. All right, getting into it, we're going to talk about Kim Clement. And if you guys don't know who Kim Clement is, he is a Christian prophet who's been prophesying things for a very long time. And a lot of his prophecies come to pass. And some of the, a lot of people are waiting on some of the bigger ones that are coming to pass, especially dealing with the financials. We're watching North Korea and what's going on with that and what he prophesied about that as far as North and South Korea becoming one. And we are watching that and seeing that take form and shape. And so one of the things I want to get into is Kim Clement's from December 5th, 2005. I could not find a video, so I'm going to have to read this particular part. Alright, it says here, "There is a banking system that shall crash, and they shall say, but it is so big, how can this happen in America? And God said, it shall crash, and there shall be a shaking just for a short moment in time. But there is something happening called a Damascus Road conversion of 3 major networks in this country." He's talking about this system, this banking system that shall crash. And we have seen recently in the news, and one of the things is this the beginning of the banking crash? Now, we did see Bank share a slide on the report of rampant money laundering. So there was this report that came out that deals with all the banks, and there's a lot of major banks. And it says here the financial sector was hit hard Monday following a report alleging that a number of banks, JP Morgan, HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, Deutsche Bank, Bank of New York Mellon, among them, have continued to profit from illicit dealings dealing with disreputable people and criminal networks despite previous warnings from regulators. Okay, according to the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, leaked government documents showed that banks continued moving illicit funds even after being warned of potential criminal prosecutions. This document was obtained by BuzzFeed News and shared with the ICU. The report compounded a massive sell-off across global markets because of gloom and doom over the virus, infections, and the economic damage from the pandemic. The consortium reported that documents indicate that JP Morgan moved money for people and companies tied to the massive looting of public funds in Malaysia, Venezuela, and the Ukraine. The bank also processed more than $50 million in payments over a decade for Paul Manafort, the former campaign manager for President Donald Trump. And it says here the consortium's investigation found that documents identify more than $2 trillion in transactions between 1999 and 2017 that were flagged by financial institutions' internal compliance officers as possible money laundering or other criminal activity. And 1.3 trillion of the activity took place at Deutsche Bank. Shares of Deutsche Bank dropped 8.3%. All right, folks, so here we go. Is this the beginning of what he's talking about? And we talk about the collapse of the banking system. And I believe that this could be the beginning because, folks, this is tied into a lot of different things. There's a lot of countries and a lot of banks, including some central banks that are involved in what's going on. And I'm just going to read some headlines to you. And this is the thing. What's going to happen with the banking system? How is the United States government going to look at what's going on? And how is it going to go after these banks? And what's going to be the aftermath of what this whole fallout? Because this is just the beginning. And there's going to be more banks involved, more individuals involved. And you're going to find out there's going to be a lot more central banks involved. So, and this is relating also to the Middle East, and I'll share that with you in the next video because it concerns gold. So, North Korea reportedly laundering money through U.S. banks to evade sanctions. North Korea has laundered money through U.S. banks in an elaborate years-long plot to evade international sanctions, according to a new report citing a leak of confidential documents from leading financial institutions. The documents revealed that North Korea-linked organizations allegedly transferred more than 174 million illegally using shell companies and assistance from Chinese companies through U.S. banks, including J.P. Morgan Chase and the Bank of New York Mellon. So with this whole thing with the sanctions on North Korea and these U.S. banks, what's going to happen? I mean, this is huge, folks. This is just the beginning, and as you see some of the banking stocks start to really fall, and they start doing government investigations, and then next thing you know they're testifying before the House or the Senate. So you're going to see a lot of things that possibly could help play out as far as, first of all, this prophecy coming to pass, and then this is needed in order for us to go to a new system. In order for us to go to a new system, the old system has to be replaced. The corruption in this financial system that we're in, as you can see, it's huge. So it sounds like to me, J.P. Morgan and Deutsche Bank they're the ones that are getting hit the hardest. And folks, I tell you, it's probably bigger than this. This is probably just the tip of the iceberg. And this is their initial report. Once they follow all the money, and it's going to be a lot bigger. And you can probably see other financial institutions in the Middle East fall into this as well. All right, I'm going to read some additional headlines so you can get the gist of how far this is going. This is the FinCEN files. UAE central bank failed to prevent Iran's sanctions evasion. So that deals with what the banks were doing. So now you have a central bank that's involved in that. Leaked documents trove reveals banking giants enabled money laundering. You have here something about Choice Bank, a Belize bank that is, it says here, the collapse of Belize-based Choice Bank hit some Payoneer customers. Bahrain finds Iranian banks implicated in money laundering. FinCEN documents connect money laundering network in Pakistan. Belfast mailbox address used by account holder in Russian money laundering scheme. This is all connected. All these articles are connected to what's going on with the information. Zimbabwe central bank bans mobile money operators over money laundering. So obviously, and they're actually that article there, they're cracking down. And now, folks, this is probably the biggest piece of news that people don't really understand. Deutsche Bank suspected facilitating funds to Daesh in Iraq. Right? The ISIS infamous rule over vast areas of Iraq during 2014 and 2016 not only led to a humanitarian crisis, but also left the country economically depleted. Its expansion in Iraq, marked by its control over vast areas of the country, most notably capturing the city of Mosul in June 2014, also allowed the organization to seize over 121 bank branches across the central bank in what was described one of the largest bank robberies the world has ever seen. Across its operations, the ISIS stole a total of approximately $830 million. Despite this, some banks, including Deutsche Bank and specifically its U.S. branches, continued to allow money transfers to be sent to Iraq despite the group's control over large parts of the country. Right, and this is all dealing with the whole FinCEN files that I've just been talking about. So, folks, this is huge, right? This is big news concerning what's going on with this bank. I've heard this bank being mentioned on multiple occasions years ago. I've heard about this bank. I think even Johnny has even talked about this bank, and there's just a lot of things that have been wrong with this bank. If this is true, this is going to be huge, right? You're going to see, and who knows what's going to happen to the banking system after all this. You're probably going to see a major crackdown on the banking system. And that's going to be huge on their stocks. It's going to be huge as far as maybe on the economy, how it can maybe pull on the economy. We don't know how this is all going to play out. A lot of what I talk about is speculation, and one of the things I talk about is the Dow at 20,000. I'm talking about the Dow actually closing at 20,000, and I believe that I do see a slide in that, and I think some things have to happen first, and I have discussed the banking system is one of the key components that's standing in the way of a new system, because as long as those banks have the power, they will control how this system is run, and this system needs to be replaced. So this is going to be the opportunity. I mean, we really need to push this issue concerning what's going on with the banking system, and hopefully that this government will actually go after those banks, and this will be the beginning, and hopefully this is the beginning of the banking crash. So I'm not sure if any of you guys have funds in those banks, but I'd be very careful of where you have your banks. You know, JP Morgan Chase, you know, if I have an account with JP Morgan, do I really want my money in JP Morgan? I'm not a financial advisor. I wouldn't know. So you might want to ask around as far as, you know, some of these banks that are involved. In the beginning of the video, I did mention, as I was reading the articles, about some of the major banks that are involved. So it's just something to think about. So we're gonna watch this whole thing unfold. I have no doubt that the banking system coming down and being replaced or being transformed is what's needed before we go to a new system, at least mostly. So folks, tell me guys what you think about this whole thing with the banking system. Let's keep watch and see what happens from here on out, and what the government, how they might, and governments around the world, and how they might respond, including the United States, which is going to be the most important, because we know things are changing. The Federal Reserve being part of, you know, the Treasury Department, and there's just a lot of things that are going on that have been going on behind the scenes, and I think this thing is going to shake the banking system, and it already is. But it's really going to shake it. I think Kim Clement said it's going to crash, and there'll be a shaking for a what? He said there shall be a shaking just for a short moment in time. So hopefully that this is relating to that, because that just means that we are closer to the beginning of the 8 wells. But one of the things is that we have not experienced the first well. And when this first well explodes, you guys already know all these other wells are going to come follow. But this is the beginning. I believe that the dinar is the first well that's going to be released, at least from what I have seen so far. I might be totally wrong about that, but so from what I've seen so far, I believe the dinar is the beginning, so that way we have the money to invest into all the other wells. And it's going to come quickly, folks. It's going to come quickly. So this new energy source could come shortly after the dinar revaluation. I thank you folks for listening. Give a comment, give a like, and don't forget to support us on the Patreon. God bless, and with that being said, Twisted Christian out.